Police body camera video shows the moment Brittany Patterson was arrested for letting her 10-year-old son walk into town by himself.
What am I under arrest for?
For reckless endangerment.
And how was I recklessly endangering my child?
We're not talking about it.
On October 30th, Patterson said she took one of her children to the doctor. In the meantime, her son, Soren, who since turned 11, decided to walk less than a mile into town from their home in rural Mineral Bluff, Georgia. While out, Patterson got a call from the sheriff's department, worried that Soren was walking alone.
I wasn't concerned. I wasn't, panicking or concerned because it's just a short walk from our house. He knows how to get home. He knows how to get there.
Authorities dropped Soren off at home, and 5 hours later, they returned.
Call mommy and tell them they're taking you to jail because you decided to walk down the street.
Let go of your hands. That's not his fault.
Yeah, call mommy.
You're the mother. That's your responsibility.
Last time I checked, it wasn't illegal for a kid to walk to the store. So.
It is when they're 10 years old.
Patterson was booked on suspicion of reckless conduct, a charge that could carry 1 year in jail. The warrant claiming she willingly and knowingly did endanger the bodily safety of her juvenile son.
Our criminal justice system is built on the fact that you did something or you were negligent. You did something criminally negligent. So what is it she did?
Authorities have offered to drop the charge if Patterson signs a safety plan that includes the use of a GPS tracker on her son's phone. But she refuses to sign it or admit doing anything wrong.
I just felt like I couldn't sign that, and that in doing so would be agreeing that there was something unsafe about my home or something unsafe about my parental decisions, and I just don't believe that.
Brittany Patterson is out on bail, awaiting to see if prosecutors will indict her on the reckless conduct charge.
Dog, what? Bro, what is the difference between that and letting your kid walk to school? What's the difference? I see kids walk to school all the time. I see it every morning, and they be younger than 10 years old. I see kids 6, 7, they might be in groups. It might be 2 or 3 or 4 of them, but they be young and they walk to school. I don't know where they're coming from. I'm not following them, but I see kids walking to school every day, and it's probably less than a mile, or in some cases it might be longer than a mile. It's a crazy thing that we have come from a generation of parents where they had to walk to school or wherever they had to walk, and it might have been 4 or 5 miles. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, they might have had to walk anywhere. Dog, kids had jobs in the 90s. I used to be at the grocery store. It would be kids bagging groceries for my mother. We have gotten to this place where everything is so coddled. We treat these kids like they are not capable of anything. The same world that says that your kid can cut their penis off of their body and be a girl is the same world that is arresting this woman for letting her son walk to the store, bro. What? Man, I thoroughly remember being 8, 9 years old, riding my bike miles away from my house. And we were okay. I understand that the world is a dangerous place. I understand that people have bad intentions. I understand the sentiment of it all. But you're going to arrest her? You're going to arrest her for letting her son walk to the store. It's not like they said, she sent him to the whorehouse, or they caught the little boy gambling. He went to the store, bro. I used to walk to the store all the time. Now, my house, we literally had a liquor store right behind us, like literally, 30, 40, 50 yards behind us. Wasn't far. But we also had another store that was deeper into the neighborhood that was maybe, 3 blocks, 4 blocks up the street, which is probably equates to like a third of a mile, a quarter of a mile, something like that. It's not very far. It might be something like, almost a half mile. I used to walk to that store too. It was called Sam's. And Sam's was notorious because Sam's was more like a grocery store. And it also had, little bags of chips and all of that too. So you would go to Sam's, you could get you a sandwich or a pizza versus the one that was right behind my crib. It's just a corner store it's really a liquor store. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't think this is happening all over the world because I still see kids walking to school and stuff or even to the store. Like where was I at? We were just leaving the studio today, me and my kids, and I was laughing. My kids was in the back seat, and I was like, "Them kids just came from the store," and they was like, "How you know?" I'm like, "Cause I got like a little black plastic bag to say thank you, come again, or whatever it say." I'm like, they just came from the store, and I was about to go on a whole diatribe about how like I'm like, back, y'all generation don't ever walk to the store. So I was kind of shocked to see that. That was just today. I kind of forgot about that until right now. But I almost started going a whole diatribe about that to my kids. But, my kids are at the age, they don't really give a fuck about what I'm talking about anyway. They're 6 and 7 years old. They're not necessarily at the age where I'm comfortable with them walking to the store. But furthermore, there is no store even near here that they could easily walk to. Not where I'm at, where I live. But, I'm kind of a control freak and I kind of get paranoid as a parent. So I don't even know if I would let my kids walk to the store. But I will say that watching this woman let her 10-year-old boy be a boy and go to the store. If he wants something, I don't got to take you to the store every time you want something. Just go. I can't wait till my kids get to that age. Just yesterday, I had to go to the studio, 8 o'clock last night. I had a 2-hour session. My kids did not feel like going. And I didn't feel like taking them, getting them dressed, dealing with them, getting them in the car, because that's a whole ordeal. Kids are just mindless. They don't care about anything. It's annoying. Riling them up or corralling them up and getting them where I want them to go. So I just wanted to as a man, one thing that I do miss as, being a parent is just being able to get up and just go. Just throw my pants on, throw my shoes on and leave and do whatever I want. But when I got kids, I have to get them ready. Tell them to brush your teeth. Stop fighting. Put your clothes on. Your shirt's on backwards. Your shoes are on the wrong feet. Tie your shoes. Zip your coat up. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. And it becomes a whole hour thing when I could have been back by now. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait till they get to the age where I can go to the studio for 3-4 hours a day or something and make my money and they just in the crib playing the PlayStation or chilling or whatever. Or the day that I could just tell them, put your coat on, get the fuck out. Go walk up to the store for me. Go get this. I need this because I don't feel like going. I can't wait. My son will be 8. My oldest son will be 8 years old this year. It's not quite that time yet. But when they get about 9, 10 years old, I even had this conversation with my cousin and my mans. We were talking about what's the age you would be comfortable letting your kids stay at home. This is a while back we had this conversation. And I was saying, I don't really know because this is my first time being a parent, but I feel like that's kind of the sweet spot. 10 years old, 11-year-old, 12 years old. I'm not saying I could leave you here for a weekend. That's a whole different thing. But leaving you here for a couple hours so I could run to the store or shoot to the mall and grab something for y'all real quick and come back and I don't got to go through all of that. My kids be asking me to stay home all the time. And sometimes I'll be wanting to just say, yeah, but these kids, like I said, they're mindless. So I come back and this whole shit will look like the Palisades. You know what I'm saying? Because these kids do not pay attention to shit. They make mistakes all day long. They're just not aware. But 10 years old, I've never had a 10-year-old. Like I said, my son is 7, my youngest is 6. 10 years old seems pretty far up the line where they're a little self-sufficient, especially with our kids. These kids today is smart as hell. They're smart. Smart. Way smarter than I was at their age. The things that they're able to talk about, the things that they aspire to, the things that they think about, the questions that they ask, the vocabulary that they have. Way smarter than I was, way smarter than my friends were. But arresting somebody, let's pull that back up right quick.
Camera video shows the moment Brittany Patterson was arrested for letting her 10-year-old son walk into town by himself.
What am I under arrest for?
For reckless endangerment.
And how was I recklessly endangering my
We're not
child?
talking about it.
On October
said,
30th, Patterson said she took one of her children to the doctor. In the meantime, her son, Soren, who since turned 11, decided to walk less than a mile into town.
She took one son to the doctor. So it's not like she's negligent. She taking her son to the doctor. The other one said, he probably was like, I want some chips or something. You know what I'm saying? Can I go to the store while y'all going? She was like, just go. And he walked to the store. Less than a mile. A mile is not far. And less than a mile is even less. What the fuck? Less than a mile is it's within the confines of your neighborhood. That's where you live at. What would be the difference of him walking to a friend's house that lives a few blocks over? What's the difference? I don't know where we going. Where we going, this world is weird. Because on one hand, y'all want to let kids, you want to let kids have relationships and with adults and change their sex, but they can't walk to the store though. Man, we live in some weird ass times where some weird ass people are making the rules, and don't nobody know what's up. Where did they say they were? I need to get back to my critical listening skills.
In the meantime, her son, Soren, who since turned 11, decided to walk less than a mile into town from their home in rural Mineral Bluff, Georgia.
Mineral Bluff, Georgia, rural. And they said since this video, he's turned 11, or since this incident, he's turned 11. So at the time, he had to be almost 11. So he's 10 and a lot of change. He's like, he's 10 and like 9 months, which means he's even closer to being a teenager. Man, if y'all don't get the fuck out of here with this shit, I want to actually read through the comments. I just want to see what other people were saying, because I did not get a chance to read through those, but I am curious. Let's see. 90s Kid for Life, which is he's sort of like a 90s vlog where he puts all this, nostalgic stuff up. But he said this makes him viscerally angry, and it's right on brand for him because his whole page is about reminiscing about the 90s. So he remembers the time when people like me, people like him, we would roam the entire city damn near. I won't say totally free, but I'm just saying we had much more range than a half of a mile. Let's see what other people are saying. Sorry if I missed it. Was the dad arrested as well? This is just some anti-man shit. Locked my parents up for 200 consecutive years. They had zero clue of my whereabouts between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Dog, and that's another thing. I remember days like that too, where it would be sometimes, despite the fact that we had video games, despite the fact that we had the internet even at some point, during the late 90s, early 2000s, where I was in chat rooms and I had AOL Messenger and Halo Online. So it's not very much different than it is today, 20 something years later. It's not very different. It's more advanced technology, but it's still the same framework that these kids kind of have, minus the social media and cell phones, right? Which makes it safer because now every kid got a phone where they can call emergency services or call home directly to their mom or father if they need something. But I grew up in a time where we had no cell phones. So we just outside. We would wake up despite all of this stuff, the video games, the TV, the electronics, and we would be excited to go outside. And we outside 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning. And we might disappear all day until them street lights come on. In the summertime, that's not till about 9:30, 10 o'clock because the sun is out all day long. So we would disappear. I might be at my man's house. We might be in the backyard digging in the dirt, playing football, talking about girls, feeling on girls, fighting, playing with Pokemon cards, playing the Game Boy, chilling on the porch. I might be in my man's house and we might be playing his game. My parents, they want to know where I'm at. But my point is, I didn't disappear all day. Now we got it to where these kids can't even walk to the store and then come back home, probably with a cell phone in his pocket. We grew up walking there to get mom's cigarettes. Facts. What world are we living in? We left the house after school and didn't come home till right before the lights came on. We were miles away. Exactly. So 10 is not old enough to walk down the street alone, but old enough to change their gender. I didn't read through these comments before this, but exactly, bro. Were these officers born in the 2000s? No, they weren't. Considering how out of shape they look, like some of us made longer walks to go to school or the bus stop on a daily basis in the 80s and 90s. What's the difference? What's the difference? If they can walk to the bus stop for school, surely they can go to the store. Because at the bus stop, I'm just a sitting duck. I'm just standing on the corner with my book bag on, a lick. If a motherfucker want a kid today, you standing out here by yourself. It's dark. It's the morning time. Ain't nobody really up. If I wanted to kidnap you, this would be a perfect time, right? But I can't walk to the store though. If this was the norm, Stranger Things would have been one episode and ended a lot differently. Did not every 80s and 90s kid walk to places alone? I'm confused. Land of the free, eh? So y'all lock up people who, right. Land of the free. This is very reminiscent of some fucking China, North Korea shit. Like, you gonna arrest a motherfucker because they let their kid walk to the store. It's like, what's next? It's like, do we have curfews too, motherfucker? What law is that? I walked to the store 5 blocks away with a note to get cigarettes. I was babysitting children at 11. Home from school. Every parent who lets their kid walk home from school going to be arrested now. I see it happen all the time. If I lived near my school, which we don't, near my kid's school, which we don't, but there's a school, a couple football fields, a few football fields away from me right now. If they were to get out of school and they did go to the school, I would let them walk home. I let them walk home at 8, 9 years old. The shit's right there. I could damn near see it out of my window. If y'all don't know how to get down this street and into this motherfucking house without getting accosted or without getting lost, then, natural selection was going to take your goofy ass out anyway. You know what I'm saying? 10 years old, 11 years old, though. Come on, man. You can walk home. I was a CPS social worker for 20 years, and some children are more mature than others. Her child was able to walk by himself, and by her not being concerned is due to her teaching her child Man, yeah, okay. So this is one of the times where I read through the comments and I'm like, locked in with these people and their opinions, because that's the same thing I was going to say. That was one of the things I meant to bring up before I even started this video, is that some kids are further along in their development than others. I know some kids, and a lot of times it'd be girls, little girls, that are not ready for this sort of responsibility or this sort of independence, because they're a little more sheltered, they're a little scary, they're not as capable to defend themselves as my boys are. They have a little cousin or a friend or whatever you want to call her, that is pretty much the same age as my oldest son. But that little girl is not as strong as my son. It's not even close. She's not as strong. She's not as aware in terms of like street smart, in that department. She's not necessarily there because she don't gotta be. I teach my sons how to deal with little rowdy niggas all day long, because that's what they gonna come up against being little boys. You know, that little girl don't necessarily have to learn that lesson the way that my son does. She had to learn how to protect herself or how to say no or don't touch me and all of those sorts of things. But my sons have to deal with these little boys in school in a totally different way. Like my sons went to school and immediately came home and started telling me they were getting punched in the face. And I'm like, well, what did you do? You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes that conversation. You know, what do you do if this happens? What do you do if that happens? I've gone through all of those things with my kids. What happens if just 2 nights ago, I said, what you do if somebody break in here tonight? And they gave me a terrible answer, but we went over that. I'm like, you know, this is what you do. This is what you say. This is where you go. I went over what happens if the fire breaks out in the house. What do you do? Where do you go? Went over that. I'm probably going to go over that again because they need to be reminded. I went over what happens if you get lost. What is your address? What city do you live in? What's your first and last name? Do you know who to call? Do you know who to talk to if you're in trouble? And that's readiness, preparedness. That's preparation. Preparing your kids for the world is preparation. And if you don't do that, then yeah, your kid is going to be a little, I don't know. The word I want to use, I probably shouldn't use, but you know, your kid might be a little soft. And your kid don't know what to do. And I've seen that. Where it's like your kids seem a little goofy. Like your kids seem like he just floating through life like la 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 la. And your son, you know, in my opinion, man, you can't let your son be like that. Not in this hood, not where I'm from. You can't let your son be that. You got to teach him, straighten up, man. You better pay attention because this shit is real. I'm done, man. That's all I got to say. Appreciate y'all for listening. Hit that like and that subscribe, all that shit. Do that for me. You know what I'm saying? Fuck with me. We here.